Hello, thank you guys for joining me. Welcome back to All This Black That's Yet to Crack. And right now we are about to do the Weak and Stupid. Sorry I'm late. We're going to try and do this every Friday at 5 Eastern Time. Had a little trouble trying to get everything set up, make sure that's working appropriately. Had some issues yesterday, so we are on it now. And we're just going to dive right in. Things are looking just a little bit bleak out there and also kind of hilarious. We have these people coming up with some really interesting stuff going on out there. First, we have Pete Davidson and what looks like...
It's just me. You don't have to log in. It'll give me an alert.
I have no idea. Hold on a second.
It'll tell me if...
It looks like Pete Davidson and Colin Jost bought a Staten Island ferry boat. I'm not even sure why. That's just so absolutely insane. I can't fathom what they were thinking. So yeah, so what it says is that Colin Jost and Pete Davidson purchased a decommissioned Staten Island ferry for $280,000, and they plan to turn it into a nightclub. Of course they do. So to me, that just sounds like some Stefan stuff. Like I totally can see Stefan over in the corner talking about, welcome to Staten Island's greatest new nightclub, the ferry. Like it actually sounds like it would straight out of a Stefan sketch. That's absolutely hilarious. The Staten Island ferry, if you've ever been to New York or you're from the New York area, it is an iconic part of New York life, is riding the ferry. It's absolutely like I go to visit my aunt, and we've had to take the Staten Island ferry. My aunt actually lives in Jersey, so a lot of times when we go into New York and we travel all around, we'll head over into Staten Island, we take the ferry. Like everybody that's spent any part of time in New York knows about the Staten Island ferry. So the idea that they bought one to turn it into a nightclub is actually pretty hilarious. I probably will have a long ass line, like absolutely insane. Then, because, shit isn't hard enough out there for us, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase's CEO, he got a $3 million raise. Like, we're all out here starving to death. We can't pay our bills, but he got a $3 million raise. Like, that couldn't be put to better use. On the good side, on a plus side, Christmas Story, the kid from A Christmas Story, he's getting a sequel now. So Christmas Story is my favorite Christmas movie personally. You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Kid. One of my favorite things ever. When I was younger, my mother, we didn't get the sex ed talk. What my mom did is my mom just gave us gray sex ed pamphlets from when my grandfather was a science teacher. So like the late 70s, early 80s. And I just read the pamphlet, and all I can remember that stuck in my head was that it said that sperm could travel in speeds of up to 60 miles an hour. And for whatever reason, because I was like 11, because I'd asked my mom about periods and I got this pamphlet. All that was stuck in my head was that they could travel that fast, and for whatever reason, in my mind, like they were gonna like hit so hard, they were gonna like displace organs or something. And so I just thought, it's going to be like A Christmas Story, and I'm going to shoot a colon out or hit a spleen if they miss, like if he has bad aim. Like that is really what I thought was happening, because there's a lot of context missed if you just read the health pamphlet that has just like the bare minimum of how organs work and what a period is. So yeah, it worked though. So they're finally giving us a sequel. Obviously it is going to be on HBO Max. Why I said obviously, just seems like all the great stuff is showing up there. It is going to have Anna Kendrick, which we're all up to see Anna Kendrick in absolutely anything. So a sequel to The Christmas Story could be a hit or miss. There was actually a sequel called Radio Days. So for those of you who aren't really familiar with Christmas Story or anything about this, Christmas Story is a Christmas movie about a little kid in like the late 40s. And he doesn't even have a TV. That's how long it is ago. So he's all about the radio, the serial radio shows and stuff. And so this kid wants a Red Ryder BB gun, and his mom was like, nah, you'll shoot your eye out. And like every time he tells an adult, you'll shoot your eye out, is what he gets told. And that's like, a lot of people have turned it into a drinking game. You watch the movie, every time you hear it. Yeah, let's just say I did that one time ever, and I've got a scar to show for it. So never again. Anyway, so they have, in this particular movie, The Christmas Story, it's about his quest to get this Red Ryder BB gun, but it's also about, him being attacked by bullies. Another iconic scene from there is his brother being put in his snowsuit to go to school and not being able to put his arms down. It's, the Bumpus Hounds, the next door neighbors, coon dogs who eat their Christmas turkey. That's iconic because they end up having Chinese food because it's the only place open on Christmas. Another iconic scene, the Pink Bunny outfit, that he gets from his aunt, and it reminds me of Frank from Donnie Darko. You're not familiar. He has, some people call it an imaginary friend. Some people say it's a hallucination. Some people say that it's someone from another dimension, someone from the future. Depends on how you interpret the movie, but it reminds me of Frank. It's not. It is scary. But in the quest to get the gun, it's just life lessons. First time you get caught cussing when you're really little and you get in trouble. Of course you blame someone else. It is not like now they show when someone's like, I learned it from you. Nah, back then you would never say that. Like, you would go to school with, some bruises. This is also the movie where the kid sticks his tongue on the telephone pole. That is something, the flagpole. In this, it's the flagpole. Sticking your tongue on a metal pole, I feel like, is a rite of passage for many kids in the U.S. They all have to see if on a cold day their tongue will stick to the pole. It will. Of course, I had to try. Luckily enough, I also tried to close my mouth. And what it is the heat from your warm saliva melts, causes your tongue to come unstuck. It sticks because it kind of freezes to the pole. So when you go to close your mouth, the heat from your warm saliva causes that little connection to melt, and that's how your tongue comes off. So actually would have been far easier. Like, more than likely in the movie his tongue is all jacked up because they have to rip it off the pole, but in real life they would have just poured some hot water on him and he'd have been good to go. But yeah, the whole thing is really insane. It's hilarious. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. So yeah, I watch it every Christmas Eve because my parents watch something else. That is a whole nother story. I'm traumatized by their favorite Christmas movie. So it getting a sequel is great. They tried to do, the man who wrote it is Garrison Keillor. Garrison Keillor, he had a long time show called The Prairie Home Companion on National Public Radio, NPR. It's very much like how podcasts are done now. People just kind of he's just him hanging out, telling stories about his childhood and how he grew up. And that's where Christmas Story comes from, is from the Prairie Home Companion series. And they tried to take the 4th of July part of the Prairie Home Companion and turn it into a sequel. And if I remember correctly, I want to say it was Kieran Culkin who played, I'm probably very wrong, but let's check, who played one of the kids in the Christmas Story sequel. Let's look it up. Checking right now. There is a fabulous, fabulous fan theory about Succession and Scott Pilgrim. Let's see. It's not Kieran. It is one of them. It's just not Kieran. All right. It was a Culkin, just not Kieran. That's not helpful. Okay. So they tried to do it before and it just didn't resonate as well. I think a lot of people not everybody celebrates 4th of July. It's not as universally celebrated as Christmas is. Some people don't do anything. So a lot of people work on 4th of July. So not everybody could connect with the idea of taking a lake holiday and getting a cabin. Like, that's a little foreign to most of us. So it was just one of those things that didn't really land, and that's okay. It doesn't have to. So we're getting a second shot at a Christmas Story sequel. In other good news, Upturn, Johnny Depp is going to play King Louis. That will be interesting. I was going to say Upturn because Johnny Depp's back, but that's scary. Let's see what comes of that. Okay, so this, I don't know if you guys have followed this. I actually saw this on the channel, YouTube channel for Natalie Lawyer Chick. What happened was there is this absolutely horrible Zoom video. So in certain places, Zoom court is broadcast over YouTube Live. It's streamed. And the reason being is because all court hearings in certain places in the United States, certain counties, have to be made public, and certain kinds of them have to be open to the public. So in order to keep in the spirit of that, they started broadcasting the courtroom cases on the internet. And when they did this, what ended up happening, a couple of really crazy things happened. But a lot of times what was happening is people were catching stuff that was inappropriate, stuff that they would have gotten away with in a closed courtroom where, you know, if somebody stumbles in versus when you're on the internet and you're bored and you just happen and, you know. So in this instance, it was a very, very simple hearing over a civil violation. So in the United States, a civil violation is the type of thing that gets you a ticket. It's, you know, breaking a city ordinance. It's like parking in a no parking zone in front of a fire hydrant. If you have a city ordinance about, you know, how tall your grass is allowed to be. Like the biggest one, the one I think of the most when I think of stuff like this is I think of places that have city ordinances for like when there's a drought. So that's probably the biggest one. That's usually the one that's most enforced in the United States. So if there's a drought, there'll be a city ordinance that you can only water your lawn at certain times based on where you live in the city, and you can only water your lawn for a certain amount of time. And they will actually check your water usage to make sure that you're not violating these water restrictions that are happening. And so if you violate water restriction ordinances, it varies as to what the fine is going to be depending on how bad it is. If they find out that you're hoarding water, then yeah, that will be jail time. But normally civil violations are things that, you know, you maybe get a ticket, $100 tops, if even that. In this instance, this is about a 72-year-old man who had a unkept yard. I mean, stuff happens. My parents are pretty diligent about their yard. And I'm sorry to say, I feel like my parents would be the person who'd be calling the city on this poor man actually, I take that back. I feel like my dad would go over and be like, hey, you know, like my dad pretty much knows a lot of the people in the neighborhood, but I feel like my dad probably would be try and see, you know, knowing he's an older man, to see what's up. And I feel like my dad's the type of person who would try and see if he needed a hand. But my mom was the kind of person who would just report his ass and not even try and find out what's going on. She's just a tiny bit of a Karen. Anyway, so the Michigan 31st District Court Judge Alexis Crote, in this online video that I watched, like I said, on Natalie Lawyer Chick's channel, the judge had no compassion for this poor man. He's 72. He's on the call with his son because he's recovering from chemotherapy. He's a 72-year-old man who's recovering from chemotherapy. And this judge just went ham on him. Like, you would think that, like, he stole somebody's purse, or that he was, like, siphoning their water, or, like, that, you know, he had tapped into their sewage line or something. Like, not that he just didn't mow his grass for 6 months. It was really, really insane. And she just kept saying stuff like the neighbor shouldn't have to look at this. I could give you jail time. She even said, and I quote, if I could give you jail time, I would. So, I mean, she seemed to be more upset about this than even like the other people that were on the Zoom hearing that, you know, she was just like heated. And so his son went and cleaned up the yard, and hoping that they would, what she did is she gave him $100 fine. And he was hoping that showing that they cleaned up the yard and explaining about his health would get them taken care of. And no, she just flipped out. And she was just in, like, I don't know, she just, you have to watch the video. Like, she's absolutely ridiculous. But what she says, I guess she made an apology, and she says, I made a mistake. I acted intemperately, meaning in bad temper. I'm very embarrassed that I did so. I apologized to the person who appeared before me, and I apologize to your entire community for having failed to meet the high standard we expect of our judicial offers and that I expect of myself. Let's be really, really honest. She wouldn't have said a damn thing if she hadn't gone viral. That's the truth. And a petition went up. As of now, it has 200,000 signatures, over 200,000 signatures, asking that she be removed. And a pledge drive was raised to help the man get permanent lawn care, so that never happens again. But I do feel that someone like that should be removed. You need to be able to have compassion at some points to be a judge. This is not like doing criminal court. These people are not there for murder. They're not there for armed robbery. They're not there for home invasions. They're just there because maybe they didn't cut their grass. You know, maybe they use too much water doing, like I said, water restrictions. That's what these people are doing. And you need to understand, especially now during COVID, people have stuff going on. So, some people could be sick. Anything could be happening. So that's absolutely ridiculous. So, Squid Game is getting a second season. I think we all pretty much knew that was going to happen. Of course, there's delays on the new Mission Impossible. Why are there still Mission Impossible movies? I'm so confused. Like, why are there even still movies? They're just like overkill at this point. I feel like we're just paying gratification to Tom Cruise. So I don't know if you guys have been following the case of Alex Murdaugh. Alex Murdaugh is a man who faked his death, apparently. And they've just added more charges. He's an attorney who tried to fake his death, and they added more charges. There's 19 counts of breach of trust with fraud. So 19 counts of fraud, 4 counts of computer crimes. The latest indictment says that he stole $2.2 million from 4 clients. He's accused of stealing more, oh my gosh, nearly $8.5 million in settlement money. He's only the other one. Erica Jane's husband did the same thing. Earlier this week, they asked to reconsider bond, but they're like, yeah, no, I'm all set. Thank you. You already tried to fake your death once. We're not going to do that. And by the way, one of the people that he stole from was a quadriplegic man. So he's a complete and total garbage human being. Completely garbage. And for me personally, the most interesting news of the whole week was hearing that Daniel Radcliffe is going to play a young Weird Al Yankovic. Like, I can't picture it. Like, seriously, you know what this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to play. We're going to play Beauty Simulator. I'm going to get Daniel Radcliffe's face, and we're going to switch wigs in and out on him so that's how we can see what he'll look like as Weird Al. Because I can't picture it. I just cannot picture him as the that just doesn't work for me. Him as Weird Al does not work for me. So The absolute weirdest thing that I think happened this week is the self-proclaimed son of John DeLorean came forward and gave an interview. Look, y'all, can I be Samuel Jackson's self-proclaimed daughter? If I just speak it, does it happen? And does that mean that I'm going to get a better place to live and not have to be in a shoebox? Because no. So for those of you who don't know why this is kind of a big deal, you probably may not know the story behind the decline or the fall of DeLorean. So John DeLorean is the founder of DeLorean Motors. It was a small motor company, and they made, obviously, the DeLorean, and it ended up in Back to the Future because they couldn't get the rights to any of the other cars. They wanted a Mustang originally. They wanted some kind of hyped up muscle car, from like maybe the 60s. And they really couldn't get the rights to anything. And so DeLorean was the only thing that would give them the rights for the movie. And that's how the DeLorean ended up in the Back to the Future franchise. And of course, and they were kind of just flailing. They were kind of there. Some people had them. They weren't super huge. They were just barely surviving. And then Back to the Future came up, and just like anything, there was a bubble. Like it was huge. Now they needed infrastructure that they didn't have, and so he needed to try and go find that money. What he did was he made a rookie-ass mistake. He let people know he needed money quick. And in every circle, I don't care where you live. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how little you have. It is statistically proven that 1 in every 5 to 6 people is or has been an informant to the federal government or local police department. So it really does not matter, but you're either going to have you're either going to have an informant, you're going to have a snitch in your midst, or you're going to have an undercover cop. So it's not far-fetched that he's telling people he needs to make quick cash instead of, because you have to remember, this is before the internet. So when you try and go take out a multi-million-dollar loan, that is something that takes multiple months because they have to verify all the documents through phone calls, and they have to get the stuff in the mail, not email, remember, mail. So it's taking weeks sometimes just for them to get documents back and forth. And he's trying to get this, he's riding the wave of Back to the Future. He needs to get this money and be able to make this product, at least, as the movie is just leaving the theater, so people will still be buying the cars based on the hype. And so, of course, when someone comes to him and is like, I have a business proposition for you, the guy is the head of a motor company. Never in his mind is he thinking that, he's talking about a drug deal. He's thinking, oh, this is going to be, a cash investor. That's not unheard of. If you've ever worked in real estate, there are people that many, law enforcement people might consider to be loan sharks. But what they do is they give you these giant loans, but they give it at horrible predatory prices. And the idea is you use it to buy a property and you flip the property super quick, so then you can cover the amount of the loan with the interest. So the longer it takes you to flip the property, the worse your situation gets. But these situations for more successful real estate investors, they work. They're not illegal technically as long as they stay within the interest rates of the state. Every state has different legally allowed interest rates. But it can be difficult. Like they're talking about, they want you to flip houses within 60, 90 days. So you got to put the work in and find a buyer before you start getting into trouble with this person. So this is the type of situation I think he probably thought he was going to get, was this type of loan sharky cash infusion into his business, or maybe a questionable investor. I don't think it ever crossed his mind he'd go to a hotel he'd go to a room in an upscale hotel, and the man would be like, okay, so what do you know about cocaine? Like, no, nobody who works as a businessman is ever going to think that. So that is exactly pretty much what happened. And he ended up going over and just talking with this man. And he wouldn't have done it originally. It's not the kind of thing he's into on a normal basis. But what happened was, as he's feeling the crunch and the money needs to come in, quicker and quicker, he just couldn't get that loan. He couldn't get that financing the way that he wanted to and needed to. And so he ended up taking him up on it out of desperation. Not because he's like a criminal. Like I said, this is clearly the kind of dude who was not going to, be in any position to, move weight. Like, let's be real. Like, this is a guy who runs a car company. Where exactly is he going to offload kilos of cocaine? So it should have seemed super weird to him that someone with distribution weight would approach him and ask him if he wants to become a drug dealer. But he never questioned that. Why? I don't know. He just didn't. He was like, "Hey, cool. You want me to move some weight? I got you." Like, no. What are you even thinking? That's not cute. So he says, "Okay, let's make this deal." And he shows up with a suitcase full of money. And of course, the dude is an undercover cop. Now, the reason that case is so notable here in the United States is it is the case that caused the United States to reevaluate the way that they do entrapment and the way that they view it and what they consider it to be. So here now, entrapment is anything that causes you to do something that you never would have done had you not met this person. So in this instance, had he not met this person, no, it never ever would have crossed his mind to start buying and selling drugs. Like, obviously, that's totally clear. This is a little gray-haired white. This is literally what Crime and Sports called the silver-haired middle-aged white man. Like, he is the waspiest thing in the world. But it is what happened. And so, when he went in front, he lost everything. He had to take all of his money to defend himself. So that was the end of the DeLorean company. But what ended up happening was in court, like, they were like, yeah, this is absolutely absurd. Had that cop not approached him, it never would have crossed his mind. He never, I think my neighbors are fighting. Yep, can you hear him? He never, ever would have done that. He never would have thought of it. So, of course, the jury went ahead and acquitted him because that is entrapment. It is very different. Someone may say, so what's the difference if someone's already a drug dealer? Well, there's a huge difference. If you're trying to get someone to make a drug buy, that's completely different than trying to get someone who just deals dime bags on the corner to start distributing weight. We're talking about kilos. That's a whole completely different thing. And so if you're looking at someone's record and you see someone with possession charge, or possession with intent to sell, always under like a certain amount, like 5 ounces, and then all of a sudden they show up in your courtroom and they bought 5 kilos, you're like, something's not right here. A, where'd they get the money to do this? B, how are they going to move it? Like, everything in their record says they're a small time, little petty dealer. So, yeah, neighbors at it again in the hallway. Yeah, my next door neighbor is a little volatile with the girlfriend. So, excuse them. So yeah, like, it absolutely, if you're looking at that record and you see petty possessions and maybe a couple, selling, a little bit here and there, and then all of a sudden they come into your courtroom and this person supposedly tried to buy multiple kilos, you're going to be like, how, why, what happened? What's the difference? Like, you're going to question it. It's too extreme. And that's the kind of thing that people would immediately jump on and say, well, this is entrapment, So he really is the reason that we now have very, very clear expectations and limitations on what police can do to create entrapment. So this man who's claiming he is his son, I love how it's like self-proclaimed. I want to know how that works. How do you self-proclaim yourself to be someone's son or daughter? And he's designed a rebooted DeLorean, and I'm sorry. When something is just too much, I laugh like Kitty Foreman from that 70s show. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, he receives orders from the Taliban. Okay, Ty DeLorean, who's 40 years old, he says he is the son of John DeLorean and that the Taliban want to use DeLoreans for government officials. This is awesome. He's been trying to reignite the DeLorean Motor Company, the DMC, by building hybrids. Oh, idonic. He's been mixing and piecing together DeLoreans and Reliant Robins. What is wrong with you, sir? That is the worst Franken car combination ever. He says he is received offers from the Taliban. I'm not sure if we should take this seriously and be scared that they're trying to be DeLoreans and possibly that they're trying to buy DeLoreans so they can possibly time travel. I'm sorry. This is just so fucking stupid. You hear that? The Taliban is experimenting with time travel. In an email, he told the militant group that took back he told the Taliban that they wanted to mass produce his vehicle. He said he's open to the business opportunity as he felt he could be. I'm sorry. Oh my God, the narcissism. He feels that he can be used as an instrument of peace negotiations and be a vehicle for change for good. Dear God. He said he subsequently has been in contact with the British government, who told him it was illegal to make any kind of deals with the Taliban. You think supplying terrorists could be illegal? You just think maybe might not be treasonous. But he said if they did drop their hardline stance against women, What? He said if they did drop their hardline stance against women, he would be open to entering discussions. Even though he'd be breaking the law. Yeah. No. I had offers for business, and I don't really know what to do about it. It was via email saying they received previous news reports of the car on their desk and they were interested in mass producing it. He says he would start with cars for government officials and move on from that. Dude, he's clearly never been to Afghanistan, and no offense to this guy, given the fact that he's sitting there in these bright ass red wingtips, I don't think he's probably been out of Britain. Nobody in Afghanistan but government officials are driving cars, guy. What the hell? Seriously. And it's not meant to be offensive, but and it kind of is condescending. You really, with what money are they buying your cars? Most of them can barely eat. And you think they're going to buy Franken DeLoreans from you? That is not going to encourage peace. He's waiting to hear from the transport minister to see if there's nothing else for them to tell you. They already told you. If you sell a damn thing to the Taliban, you will be breaking the law. It's really, really simple. Just like the conversation for consent. No means no. Don't sell to terrorists. It's illegal. If you do anything else, you're going to jail. How much clearer can we be? So he says that he keeps phoning the British government and they just want to see his of course they want to see your communications. There's possibly metadata in there that's going to help them track the Taliban. Jesus. And they keep telling me it's illegal to do business with them in any way, shape, or form. It's putting a bit of a damper on things, but I probably wouldn't have pursued it because of the laws against women. But you're still saying at the same time that once they drop the laws on women, then you'll pursue it. Stop, okay? Either you're not doing it because it's illegal and you want to sound like a G and be like, yeah, but I'll break the law as soon as they, let women have some rights. What? Just, it's the Taliban. As long as the Taliban is in power, women ain't got no rights. So the reality is you were never planning to do nothing about nothing. And why are we even reading about you in the paper? Seriously. Like it seems like this is a fanciful man who just made this up for fun. Like I don't even know what the hell. He really says he would like a new beginning in Middle East peace negotiation. Do you have any idea what's even going on in the Middle East? Do you have any idea? Like, the Taliban is the least of the issues. Are you aware the ISIS is over there, like, ethnically cleansing whole groups of minorities? Do you have any idea what's happening in the Middle East? I'm positive. I can tell you with 100% certainty that a couple of DeLoreans are not going to bring peace to the Middle East. My guy. This is, the more I read, the madder I get. Apparently, supposedly, the current Afghani transport minister wrote him and said the civil aviation of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan extends to its compliments to you. No, please tell me this is a catfish. Please tell me this is a catfish. To you and your brilliant motor No, this is a catfish. Tell me this is a catfish. Look at the sentence structure. Look at the way that they're writing. This is a catfish. Your amazing achievements were brought to my attention in your latest media. Yes, he went on a media tour and somebody is catfishing him because because they don't take him seriously. This is a catfish. Your amazing achievements were brought to my attention in your latest media interviews. Do you know how many weirdos do media interviews and nobody reaches out to them and asks them to do business with them? Which have gone around the world. No, they haven't gone around the world, because until this man decided to tell the world that the Taliban wanted his cars, we definitely didn't know about him in the United States. The correspondent said that they would like to move forward with an investment. It's lies. I'm telling you, this is a catfish. This is a troll. This is a troll. This is a troll. He claims it was signed off by the head of the Taliban and that he is now dealing with his deputy and transportation minister. He adds that the car has a great deal of exposure across the world, and he is Yes, now he's saying the Indian government wants it. Like, not to be a jerk, but why are all of the... Well, I'm not being a jerk. There's a very specific reason if he's being trolled. The people keep picking these specific countries. It's because, one country's full of unrest and turmoil. There's no way to really verify what the hell he's saying. And two, the other country, once again, this is such a low-income country where hardly anybody can afford transportation. It would only be the government that would be interested. And it's kind of believable that they would be interested in low-cost types of transportation, but not low quality from unknown car manufacturers. Like, that's stupid. Like, this person's car, and they're hybrids of two different brands. Not to mention you could get sued by the other brand because you are using their part. Like, there's a litany of issues that a government official would think of that is not even being thought of. I feel like this is a troll. This has to be, because just the way that things are in India, I feel like maybe for a Bollywood movie or something, but it's the flash of things. Like, that type of pomp and circumstances is meant for special occasions, for festivals, for weddings, for, things that are big milestones in life. It's for celebration. Your day-to-day life is not like that. So, the idea that the government of India is going to have him make all these cars to sell to their citizens, most of whom live in the most abstract of poverty, that they don't even get, we take for granted showering to the point that we shame people for not doing it every day. And then you have people over here in countries who don't have access to water, period. They have to go, to streams that are shared with multiple people. When I say multiple, hundreds of people are bathing in a lake or bathing in a stream. So when you shame people because the way they bathe doesn't fit with the way you bathe, that says more about you than anything else. Because there's tons of civilizations that have thrived without people bathing and wasting water every day. So on one hand, you want to talk about saving the climate, but then on the other hand, you want to shame people for not wasting egregious amounts of water, bathing multiple times a day. Some people get, or like, you should bathe every, in the morning and after you go to the gym and then before you go to bed. Like, no, like, you can't bitch and moan about climate change and then be one of the people who are wasting egregious amounts of water when there are people who don't have access to it. So understanding that that's the reality for many people of India is what makes the idea that their government would reach out to a luxury car company. Well, not even a company. As far as we know, this is just some dude who claims that he's restarted DeLorean because he's the son of the guy. Really, all he's doing is he's frankencarring these two different car brands together and trying to sell them and waiting to, basically daring the DeLorean family to come for him. It's like, seriously, like, please have the gifts from Blackish, of Bo from Blackish going, is that a challenge? Because pretty much that's what this is. He's physically running around challenging the DeLorean family to sue him. Like, this is just, I don't know if he's delusional. I feel like probably, like, I don't know. But what I do know is this has got to be trolls. This has got to be a troll that is, and to be honest, it's pretty cruel because even if, he's not who he says he is and he's running some kind of long con, still doing that, like, what if he has a family? Like, what if he tries to take you up on it and, it ends up hurting his family? Like, that's not cool. So, like, I love the fact that he's just wallowing in it. Like the whole thing, everything he says is, oh my gosh, it's just a shame the Taliban is controversial. They're not controversial. The Taliban are horrible individuals who treat women with zero regard and have no problem absolutely damaging, humiliating, and denigrating them, let alone murdering them for the slightest infraction. Okay? They're not controversial. They're horrible. They're horrific. That's not, like, it shouldn't even be, if you have any type of moral compass, and yes, a moral compass can exist in business, you're not going to do business with the Taliban. Like, really, the only people that I would expect to continue to legitimately do business with them are arms dealers. Aside from that, I can't see anybody who can justify doing business with them. He does say he'd rather someone else give him an offer, but yeah, he keeps blowing himself up. I can see it legitimately happening. I can't. You just admitted that you have frankencarred it with another car. Does the other car brand give you permission? Like, it can't be mass produced. It can't be mass produced if you are using two separate cars and you don't have the patent for both cars. Like, what the hell? Like, cause that's just patent. That's patent law 101. And then he says, we could repay the British taxpayer and build DeLorean cars here for the rest of the world. Wow. Ty has also been the center of a legal dispute. Yes, like I said, with DeLorean Motorcar, where he's been accused of passing them off as legitimate DeLoreans. I told you, they're not DeLoreans. They have other car parts in them, and they're Franken-cars that he made. They're not DeLoreans. Ty maintains he has a right and said the case is ongoing. He says he spoke to his solicitor and it's not going away. Yeah, you can't mass produce stuff you don't have the right to, and he doesn't have the right to mass produce cars under the DeLorean name, number one. Number two, I'm surprised that the other company hasn't sued him for using their parts in this and passing it off as a DeLorean. Like, that's absolutely insane and ridiculous. So that is the man who is self-proclaiming being the son of John DeLorean. So this story isn't new. It happened at the end of last year, but only about a week ago she got a settlement because she sued. So what happened was a woman by the name of Imani Jackson, she got a job and she wore a wig when she was working. And so it for those of you who don't know, for people who have natural hair, especially curly hair, it takes a minute. Like, putting a wig on is not something quick. You don't just slap a wig cap and a wig on if you have really big curly hair, because not all wig caps fit your hair. Like, it can take a minute, and then on top of that, so a lot of women actually braid their hair down before they put the wig on. Then on top of that, it takes a really good wig install. It's about half an hour, 45 minutes. And you have to glue it on. You literally glue it to your scalp. And that's what this woman did. And then one day she was just like, screw this. Why am I gluing a wig to my head for my job? Like, as long as I wear my hair within the dress code, I should be fine. And so she did that. She began wearing her hair in a bun, totally in the dress code. And within a month, they fired her. They did approach her. The employer did approach her and ask her to go back to the wig. And she said no. She said it was not doing her hair any good. She wanted to just wear her hair in a bun so that she could, help her hair kind of recover from being under this wig. And so what ended up happening was, that's why they fired her. They fired her for, they claimed, not following the dress code. So, what ended up happening was she filed a lawsuit. She did end up winning. So what HR tried to say to justify things is they tried to say employers should make sure grooming standards are race neutral. They're adopted for non-discriminatory reasons and consistently applied. The recruiter who recruited her said. HR relayed the message and reported, is she going to fix her hair? That's it. They said, you need to make sure your grooming standards are race neutral and are non-discriminatory. And HR said, when's she going to fix her hair? Fix what? It's in a bun. What is there to fix? It's not like she came in with some giant, hair sculpture on her head that she had to like duck down to get through a doorway. It's not like she came in with, I don't know if you've ever seen a hair battle, but it's not like she came in with a helicopter made of hair that she had fly off with a remote control. She just had a bun on her head, and they're acting like she showed up, in a manner that was absolutely going to destroy their business. Like, that's and she worked in an office, so like it's not like anybody was like, that's absolutely insane. And they told her her hair was unacceptable and that she had to wear the wig. The owner came to her and told her hair was sticking every which way and looked like she just rolled out of bed. It's a bun. How does your hair look like you just rolled out of bed in a bun? Like, what do they want? Like, seriously, I'm starting to understand why the girl put Gorilla Glue on her head. She was scared that the people at work were going to be upset with her hair. The owner of the company later told the staffing company that they're no longer going to need, so they fired her. They fired her because she wouldn't wear a wig. Jackson filed a discrimination lawsuit shortly after she was fired. They determined that it was reasonable because they reached out with an attempt to reconcile, but they fell short, which is why the employment body, the governing employment body, decided to sue on her behalf. So when you file a claim for discrimination with the Department of Employment, Department of Labor, it's called different things in different states. If they feel that you have a discrimination, you have an actual case for discrimination, they will sue on your behalf. Like, you won't have to actually hire a lawyer. But that's if you file a complaint, not just go ahead and file a lawsuit. If you file a complaint through them, many times they will sue on your behalf. So that's why it behoves you to actually file complaints and get a paper trail. And she won. She didn't just win. She won $1.2 million for hair discrimination. So I mean, I feel like they just, I mean, I think it kind of says everything that you need to know about how people view hair in America. I'm pretty lucky. I work in an industry, not just this, but also my day job, where people really don't worry too much about my hair. So I've been lucky. I can wear braids. I can wear, a twist out, and I am fine. Nobody really has anything to say about it. I can wear my natural hair, and it's not an issue. But this isn't like the first time something like this has happened. I'm sure you guys remember last pre-COVID Christmas, in New Jersey, a boy was competing in wrestling, and they what they did was they took him off the mat before he got a chance to start, and said that his dreadlocks were a violation of the rules. It was later determined there was no rule that said that, and the ref said he had to get rid of them. They're dreads. You can't just get rid of them. Like, they don't slide off your head. Literally, someone came up and cut his hair off his head right there. You can tell the other kid was upset. You can tell the other kid was not okay. And when they wrestled, you could tell he didn't even try. And then you could see on the boy's face he was traumatized. Like, who would not be? Like, you just came up and cut the kid's hair. They tried to do that again, like this past spring. With the black girl, she had beads in her braids at a softball game, and the ref was like, she can't play. The ump was like, she can't play with those in her hair. Dude, they're beads, guys. They slide right out. Like, literally, it takes maybe 5 minutes to get them out of your hair. Like, seriously, guys, like, maybe have her sit out an inning while the team helps her take the bead. Like, they rotate, taking turns helping her get the beads out of her hair, or have her sit out one game. Like, it's softball. You're telling me you don't have a sub for her? Seriously? You have no sub for this girl. And so, so that you have to cut her hair? That's absolutely ludicrous and insane. That makes no sense. You're a softball team with no subs for any of your players, and you are, to the extent that one person gets asked to sit out a game so that they can take their braids out and be within this supposed dress code, and your response is cut it. Like, you're the worst guardians ever. I would never entrust my children to people like that. And I say that, and then you know what will happen? Those are the people that my kids will end up with at their school. Like, that's horrific. We had an incident in my area, like, I want to say like 5 years ago. This woman went to pick her child up from government-sponsored daycare, and she got the child back with no hair. And when, of course, she was hysterical and raging, they were like, oh, yeah, we cut it off so that it would grow back less nappy. What? No. That just was, no. That's up there with the lady who, I think she forgot to, she didn't pack enough diapers for her kid for daycare. And so she got her kid back with a note written on their stomach to pack more diapers. I would have hurt somebody. Like, I probably would have gone to jail. Like, what are these people thinking? I'm going to shave your kid's hair because I don't like the texture. I'm going to write on your child because you forgot to bring diapers. Like, what? Like, and then they're complaining about the parents. No. You guys are the problem, you judgmental weirdos. Like, hair was never an issue. I feel like a lot of dress code stuff that's a problem right now. Like, it was not like that when I went to a school where I could wear a mini skirt and have a mohawk and nobody would say a goddamn thing to me. Not a boy, not a teacher, because it's whatever. As long as you are not showing your whole butt and badge all over the place, like in your breasts, as long as, that part is covered, cool. Like, a lot of crop tops. Like, this was a different time, I guess, because I didn't realize how puritanical we became. But anyway, you know, there are kids in my school who had mohawks. Now those kids would be expelled. Like, it's insane. Braids were in. Like, every black girl had braids. Like, several movies where box braids featured heavily. So suddenly every black girl had box braids, and, every black girl wanted microblades, but they could not afford the micro braids. Nobody had thousands of dollars to spend on braids. But, I mean, nobody would have said a damn thing. Like, nobody, like, they're like, we don't care. Just get an education and graduate. Where, as long as you graduate, like, let me tell you, my high school had a daycare. Okay? That's how invested my high school was in ensuring that the students actually graduated. They put in a daycare and they put in a smoking section. Why? Because they're like, screw it. We're not going to suspend you for catching you smoking, so we'll just put in a smoking section. I mean, obviously, this was way before the non-smoking, craze thing happened. I'm not saying craze, but the sharp decline in smoking. But, like, they're like, we're not going to expel you for smoking. It's stupid. We'll just give you a smoking section and call it a life. The amount of kids who smoked at the school was much lower than kids who smoked at other schools, even though we had a smoking section. The amount of kids who were ditching to do that place was always empty during class. Like, it worked. So, I mean, just give them an education. That's all your job is, not the other stuff. You're supposed to be investing in your students graduating high school, not caring how they look. And the whole cop-out of, you are tempting my son or you're distracting the boys. Dude, do you know how many boys got sent to the principal, got kicked out of class, got in-school suspension because they couldn't pay attention? It's your attention span. It's up to you to manage it, not me. I'm not in your head. This is not Inside Out. I don't know what's going on. So why is it up to me to dress to manage your attention span? Like, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life. That makes no sense to me. That's just insane. Like, I swear I would hate I cannot be in high school right now. I would constantly get kicked out. I would be suspended just because, one, they've done it multiple times. They've done the dress code violation thing where people have picked stuff off of a rack that fit the dress code and they put it on their body and suddenly it didn't fit the dress code. Always the big chested girls will wear a normal ass t-shirt and then get dress coded because it gives them cleavage. I'm like, it didn't give them cleavage. They were born with it. You're basically dress coding them for daring to have a figure as a teenager. Like that, it always, like, no, I would be the chick. I would bring a bag full of stuff and I would be renting out clothes to people who could possibly get dress coded. Straight up, hoodie dresses. I got you from your neck to your knees, man. Whatever they say that needs to be covered, I got you. Hoodie dress. Oh, just in case you want to be sure, I even got leg warmers in case they start talking about your ankles. Like scarves, got it. Oh, your hair isn't acceptable? Girl, I got wigs. Like, that would be me. Like I would be renting, dress code, avoidance wear. Like, seriously, I'd be carrying the bag with, and they'd be like, stopping me in the, because that's just so stupid. It's lame. Makes no sense. So, yeah, dress code avoidance gear. But, yeah, the whole nonsensical, like, we're going to use, you need to be responsible for, don't distract them, is insane. And, like, the whole conversation has changed. At some point, we will look at the SVU before SVU, which was both ludicrous and informative and kind of takes a very good look and shows you insight into the way in 90s sexual assault and sex crime culture was, where they didn't really take it seriously and they didn't really listen to anybody. And the thing about that was the stark difference was when it came to sexual assault, what was drilled into people was no means no, period. There's no gray area. words. No means no. I literally remember watching A Different World, and Sinbad told Kadeem Hardison, he told Dwayne Wade, no means no. And Dwayne's like, but it's my girl. It's not like I'm some creeper in the bushes who's gonna flash her. He's like, I don't care if it's your mama. No means no. Otherwise, you're gonna be making license plates. I don't understand how we went from that to, oh, well, there's some gray area. What gray area is passed out, unable to do or say anything? How? That's never been a gray area. When that show was on, if you got caught messing with somebody who was unconscious, the frame that you would get, the way people would view you would be that you were practicing to be with someone who was dead. Like, that is what they assume. Like, why would you want someone who's not conscious? The only reason for that is because you're working up the nerve for the next step. I swear to God, that was the mentality. Like, when I was a kid, if you ever heard about somebody doing something like that, that's exactly what all the adults would start saying about them. So when did that narrative switch? When did you go from being one step below the worst of perverts to it's a gray area? When did that happen? When did that switch happen? And also, when did we stop giving rapists jail time? Like, another judge over there talking about, oh, yeah, he did a whole 143 days. I think that's good. What do you mean you think this kid tried to suffocate the girl with a pillow while he was sexually assaulting her? And this judge is out here talking about, the judge convicted him. It was a bench trial. There wasn't even a jury. The judge convicted him. Minimum sentence for that state, 4 years. 4 years. The judge is like, well, I've changed my mind. I feel he has a future ahead of him. So time served. Time served? Look, if one more judge takes someone who's convicted of a sexual assault and is like, they don't have a bright future. They are convicted sex offenders. They need to be in prison for their own protection. Seriously, if anything else, they're convicted sex offenders. They're going to be on the registry. Their life is over. Talking about they have no future. They are convicted sex offenders. They're on the registry. Their pictures on the internet. Every time they move to a new neighborhood, somebody's going to come for them. You seriously think that the future's over? The best place for them is jail. That's the safest place for them. But no, it makes no sense. I don't understand where this whole, they have a future. No, they don't. You clearly, I don't understand how you can be a judge and not understand how the sex offender registry works. Like, they're not going to be able to work at 75% of jobs. Like, say that they were trying to be a lawyer. That's out the window because you got to pass a background check. You can't have a criminal record of any kind to even pass the bar. They can't even get a law license. They've been convicted of any crime, let alone a sex crime. Any professional place, they're going to run a background check. And some of them run federal background checks. They're going to know, and they're not going to hire him. He'll be lucky to spend the rest of his life working in fast food. So you sitting there saying he has a bright future ahead of him, 143 days is enough, I don't want to mess up his future. His future's gone. It's a little late to start thinking about his future when it's time to sentence him. Like, stop being a hypocrite and do your goddamn job. So that's my rant for the week. I know that it was a bit much, but it's just getting to be insane. Like, I just am so over, like, these insane, crazy people who are doing this kind of, bait and switch situation where, I'm going to convict the guy and then we get hope and then there's no real sentence. Like what was the point? Like that just so disheartening to see another sex offender not getting the punishment that he deserves. And it just goes on and on and on. So real quick, I don't want to leave on that kind of a note, so I wanted to give you guys a little something. So we are going to do spiciest fan reactions to Dune. because, and I only read the first one and I started laughing, so that's why we are going to do spicy fan reactions to Dune, guys, because, yeah, like, absolutely insane. So, we have, with the first one, this is one of my, the thing right before I saw Dune, I went and rewatched the original. The most interesting part of that are all the villains, because everybody else is just bland, monotone whiteness. Like, they're just the lamest of lame people across the board. And then you go and watch the new Dune, and it is a lot more diverse and there's more involved. So it's more eye-catching, but like before I watched it, like rewatching the old Dune was painful. It was super painful. The other thing I did is right after I saw Dune, I saw this Timothée Chalamet movie that takes place at the Cape. Oh my God, guys. So I'm talking about Cape Cod. I live in Massachusetts. It is very clear whoever wrote this does not live in Massachusetts, okay? This person absolutely... So Timothée Chalamet, first of all, there were only 2 Massachusetts accents in the whole movie, and they were in the wrong place. So depending on what shore you're on, you're going to have a different accent. And the most common accent that people know of for Massachusetts is that Pocht Con Harvard Yard, the elongated vowel dropped R. That's the North Shore. The South Shore is Pocht Con Harvard Yard. Shortened vowels, dropped R's. So, I mean, that's something that you notice if you live here. And they were Massachusetts accents, but the wrong part of the state. Like if you're from Texas, you know there's different Texas accents. Yeah. So that, and then there were a lot of like things about, first of all, they were calling each town by its individual name, and nobody's like, yeah, I'm going to Hyannis, and then next weekend I'm going to Provincetown, and then the weekend after I'm going to stop by No, it's just the Cape, all of it, the Cape. Like no one who lives there is gonna talk like that. So there was things like that. Oh, he's like, kid, you want to go get some ice cream? You want some sprinkles? I was like, I almost lost my mind. We don't call them sprinkles here. They're called jimmies. And like somebody will slap you like, if you keep calling. Like they'll correct you the first time, and then somebody will probably slap you. They'll be like, they're not jimmies. We ain't got jimmies. And you hear the police. Somebody's about to get arrested. So yeah, like. That was absolutely ridiculous. And then, so there were certain like ways they were talking, but the biggest thing is it ended in a hurricane, and they let a drug dealer drive onto the Cape. Okay, like they showed the cops. You hear that? They're coming. They showed the cops at like right at the bridge they showed the cop at the barricade stopping people from coming into the Cape. But yet they let, like, they did an aerial of that. So I feel like they took it like it was found footage that they had, and they found it and paid for it and slid it in there. But yet you're telling me that they let this hardcore, like, violent drug dealer, nobody stopped him. You're saying the National Guard, nobody stopped this dude. You're saying this kid got back on the island. Nobody stopped this kid. This is before the hurricane made landfall. Just as it's making landfall, nobody was like, kid, no, turn around. Oh, this is where you go get into the shelter. Everybody's at the church in the basement. Like, we can't let you on the island. No, the National Guard would have never let the kid on the island. They never would have let the drug dealer on the island. Like, I know they needed the tumultuous scene, but like that would not have happened. And then the whole idea that you see somebody driving out the island in the middle of a hurricane, that's not going to happen. Like I said, the National Guard is placed at certain places to keep people from trying to escape and get hurt. And so, like, it was just ridiculous. And then the idea, oh, it was a car crash, not the hurricane. What? Stop. Like... Like, clearly they know nothing about hurricane protocols at the Cape, or just period, probably, it's looking like. And then it's just, like, the whole thing was, like, not making sense. Like, the one thing that was fairly accurate was when they showed the placards about how quick they flipped their pot. And they were like, yeah, 400 pounds in New Bedford in a week. I'm like, yeah, that's about New Bedford. like that fit totally. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Let me tell you, the southeastern part of Massachusetts is always showing up in literature, in movies. Like, I was reading Providence Noir, and one of the stories, the guy was like, I don't know anything about Fall River except for the Portuguese who stole my TV. And I was like, that's about Fall River. Because it's the largest center of Portuguese immigration in the country. So it's not a far reach in the country. The TV thing, that's questionable. But yeah, like, most of the time when people are talking about Fall River, they're talking about someone Portuguese. And in my capacity, having worked in my job, I've had to take people to court, and the docket is pretty like Pacheco, Tavares, Sylvia, Medeiros, Fernandez. Like, yeah, it's pretty. And then there'll be a Johnson. And you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, and then they'll just like magically, they'll be like a Johnson, Sullivan, McDonald, back to back to back. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, but this is what people had to say about Dune. So people's reactions. This is my favorite. This is the one where I'm like, I'm not going to read anything else. Dune was $35 million cheaper to make than Jungle Cruise. That hurts my brain, man. That's not cute. Timothy Chalamet sounds like the name of a very wealthy mouse. Y'all got jokes. Y'all are wrong. Dune. This one. Dune. People use space drugs to travel through space and gain superpowers. Yeah. Dune. Space drugs are only on a dirt planet with giant worms, and also the new space messiah. That sounds reasonable. Dune. There's a character named Duncan Idaho. Wait, I'm sorry. What? Hold on. And once again, that goes back to, if you saw the original Dune, you don't question that dude being named Duncan Idaho because he's just white and monotone. Like, there's nothing to him. He's flat affected. But then you get Jason Momoa, who's very dynamic, and you're like, Duncan Idaho? You couldn't have updated the name for this guy? Come on now. And also, rest in peace to the Momoa and Lisa, the Momoa Bonet power couple. Just a moment of silence for them. And then so they are making fun of the sandworms. A lot of people confuse the sandworms. Some people think the sandworm from Dune is actually the sandworm from Beetlejuice. The credits were longer than Zendaya's camera time. Actually, I have beef with that. Like, she was everywhere, all over the promos, and like she was in there for like 5 seconds. I was like, what? I love the Atreides Nation anthem. It's just screaming Atreides, Atreides. Imagine if the military invading Iraq just yelled, America! But isn't that what we do already? Don't we constantly just run around screaming, America! Patriotism. Red, white, and blue. Make America great again. Like, I feel like we already do that. Like, what's the difference? Yes. People are super sad that people are talking about the fact that Oscar Isaac's character in Dune wanted to be a pilot, and he got to be a pilot in Star Wars. So, and they were already making like Dune's sequel, like fan trailers, like the day it came out. So people are comparing Stellan Skarsgård's character to Apocalypse now. If you haven't seen it, that character, the Baron, he's like the most evil guy. He's huge. He's massive. In the book, he's so like 600 plus. Like, he's so overweight he can't walk. And so there's all these like, he kind of like floats. It's gross. Like, I'm sorry, it's gross. Like, if you see the original Dune, it's nasty. Like, and that's how it's depicted in the book. Like, foul. Like, you don't want to be in a room with him. Like, he's just foul. Like literally, like, his body is shutting down because he's so heavy. And like, I feel like as repulsive, no offense, Stellan Skarsgård was in Dune. It just does not match how repulsive. And that was with bad makeup. So, like, yeah, like, he really is truly repulsive. Was chatting about the movie Dune with Jimothy Burglary in a bar last night, and a woman came up to us and asked if we were talking about Dune. Dune? What in the world is that? And yeah, he replies with, what the wrong is this country when a man can't walk down the street and talk about Dune? Yeah, the mice, the tiny mice in Dune, fabulous. One word in Dune, Sandy. Dune 2021 is not a remake. It is a new adaptation of the source material, Super Mario Land. It says, since Dune is a hit, I hope we get all of its batshit sequels. It's like one time where Timothée Chalamet's 9-year-old kid turns himself into a worm and lives for 3,500 years, resurrecting Duncan, Idaho, the whole time refusing to let him die because, I don't know, just to fuck with him. I can say I broke down and did watch Break Into Electric Boogaloo not too long ago, and it was horrible. I deeply regretted it. It was awful. So, yeah, I do suggest you go watch it. It's hilarious. So, yeah, House Stark, House Atreides, they meet in the middle because they both want to do super honorable but super dumb shit. But, yeah, so Twitter reactions to Dune, I couldn't help myself. They were hilarious. And I agreed, like, the names, I felt like maybe they could have updated those because those were lame as hell. But the new Dune is great. I'm glad they're doing it in 2 parts. It fits the source material to do it that way. The old Dune, if you see it, it's a ridiculous fucking mess, but it's a fun time. It's when it's like a car crash situation. In the meantime, guys, if we can meet my follower goal, and we can get up to 5 people, I would like to start doing, this is what I would like to do. I want to start reacting to international seasons of Drag Race, and I'm going to do them. I've never done it before. I've never tried my hand. A couple of Halloween costumes here or there. We'll do some Drag King. Maybe do some Morris Day to start. We'll do Morris Day in the Time. Do a little bit of the Bird. Some Jungle Love. Do some Rick James. All right. So if we can get up to 5, then I will do reactions to international Drag Race. If we can get up to 10, I will do it in full Drag King. Okay, the full everything, the hair. I'll get my little suit. I'll make sure I have my mirror so I can make sure I look pretty like Morris does. We'll do the whole We'll do the whole thing, okay? So we can get up there. We will absolutely react to some Drag Race International. Those of you who don't know, it is being joked about as the RuPaul's Drag Race Cinematic Universe. There are so many international seasons now. So outside of original Drag Race, which is now being considered Drag Race US, there's Drag Race Canada, Drag Race Italy, which was a hot mess. Somebody got kicked off the show for what some Italians are saying is blasphemy. You have Drag Race Down Under, also first season hot mess, tried to address blackface and drag, did not go over well because the black girls were gone. Also failed to talk to the girl who had a gollywog tattoo. For those of you who don't know what that is, gollywog tattoos are, a gollywog is the Australian version of a pickaninny, or you know that caricature of black women with their hair sticking up and the big giant red lips. So in Australian culture, I guess that the gollywog dolls are considered good luck. And so not only does she have the tattoo, but she has a collection of the dolls. That wasn't addressed, and then it came out. So it seemed like it was super disingenuous. On top of that, they had a queen who lost everything to COVID, her dance studio, her house. She was starting completely over. And every time they critiqued her, they're like, your drag isn't up to par with everybody else. You need to step it up. Is that a cheap wig? Of course it is. She just lost her shirt to COVID. Did you just bring her here so you could shame her and make her look horrible? It's cool though, because she got the last laugh. Right after she got off that show, she got an energy drink. Like, she got multiple endorsements. So I feel like she got the redemption that she deserved. But that was just ridiculous. You also have Spain. Spain's one of my favorites to watch. They spend more time lifting each other up, helping each other as queens, and just making, helping each other advance and go forward. So it's one of my favorites. I'm sorry, there was the point where, if you guys don't know, but two of the queens were friends. They knew each other from before. They were roommates. They fell out over a guy, of course, and they reconnected while filming the show. And at one point, a queen decided she wasn't going to lip sync. She just decided it wasn't for her anymore, and she left, which is cool. Like, I respect that. This competition style setting isn't good for me emotionally, so I'm leaving. That's cool. So, of course, we knew eventually at some point they're going to pit the roommates against each other. They did. They put them against each other in a face-to-face lip sync, and Dovina didn't do anything. She just stood there. And the judges are screaming at her. The other queens are screaming at her. The girl she's lip syncing against, Sagittaria, she came. She started dancing with her. She's trying to get her in it because, this is her friend. She doesn't just want her to give up. So Dovina, afterwards, the judge said to her, "What is with your attitude?" Because she literally just stood there. She said, "Look," she said, "I came here playing a character. I was putting on a show." And what ended up happening was, I made real friends, and that's when she revealed that one of the other queens changed her outfit and handmade a new one from scratch so they were not wearing matching looks, and helped her up hers so that it would be a better quality. Like, that's insane. Like, we would never see something like that in America. And so she's like, I made friends. I reconnected with an old friend. It's my time. She still has more to show you. And I don't ever want anyone to say I stood in her way. So the fact that, like, she's crying, the queens are crying, the judges are crying, I'm crying, everybody's like you're never going to see that. No one's going to be like, it's your time. I'm going to step back and let you have your moment. It worked out anyway because the cast of Spain didn't just do a tour of Spain. They got a residency at a high-end hotel. So she's doing wonderfully. She got endorsements. And so I prefer to watch that and see them be kind to each other and help each other improve than to see the backbiting and the cattiness. You go over to Holland. Holland had a little bit of feeling like that in the last season too, where there was a big falling out, as there should have been, over possible cheating. Someone had a cell phone, and you're not allowed to have cell phones. You can get inspiration off the internet. And but they handled it very differently than you would see on any of our seasons. They sat down, and she was like, "Look, maybe I was rude to you, but you're bragging about how well you're doing after you told me you have a phone and you're cheating. Like, of course I'm pissed. I'm pissed because you're questioning my ability as a drag queen while you're cheating and bragging about how great you are." So, I mean, but they talked it out and they got through it, and it was really great to see that different kind of interaction. So the thing, though, that was different about Holland is Holland, instead of just offering a cash prize, Holland also offered a stage at the Milkshake Festival. For those of you who don't know, the Milkshake Festival is this huge festival in Europe in which, like, the stage will be surrounded by tens of thousands of people. So the queen that everyone thought was in the lead, finally she ended up in the bottom, had to lip sync, and it was horrible. It was a disaster. And they had no choice but to send her home, because every other queen had been in the bottom and they came through and delivered. And if you can't deliver when you're under pressure, how are we going to be able to trust you to command a stage and keep control of tens of thousands of people? We can't. But of course, American Drag Race fans didn't see it that way. They're just like, she won, she won, she won. It's not about that. This is different. The stakes are higher. She couldn't come in the clutch. And when you are controlling an event, that's huge. As melodramatic as this may sound, that's the difference between turning around a rowdy crowd so that everybody has a safe evening and something like Astroworld happening where people get trampled. It's all about how you control the crowd. And you saw afterwards, multiple artists would stop the show so they can make sure people are okay. It's all about that. And if you don't have the presence of mind and you can't perform under pressure, you're not going to be able to run a stage. So, eventually I think they did the great thing. The winner is fabulous and amazing, and it's just a very different experience. You come over, you also have Drag Race Thailand. In Drag Race Thailand, they actually have to do a sewing challenge because many a great queen got sent home because she can't sew. So there they make sure it's a completely equal field. I love that. Drag Race UK was shut down right in the middle of COVID for one season, and they had the first AFAB queen. You don't know what that means. AFAB is assigned female at birth, and she got hurt, so she'll probably be back in the next season. She's hilarious. I loved it. She came out as a full porcelain tea service, the blue and white patterned china service tray. She had whole like foam finger sandwiches to scale. It was amazing. I loved it. And her hair was the handle of the tray. It was great. It was fabulous. It was the campiest thing ever. I love that kind of stuff. So it was just great. They've done some great things there. Also, Drag Race Holland had a transgender queen. So did Drag Race Thailand. Drag Race Thailand, their first winner was transgender, and Drag Race Holland, their last winner was transgender. Then you get Queen of the... Italy, like I said, was a bit of a mess. What they're adding, they got Queen of the Universe they added, which is like, it's kind of like The Voice. Well, I wouldn't say it like American Idol, but for drag queens. So it's like International American Idol for drag queens is pretty much what it is. Except you're only seeing the part where it's like the finale singing. And then they are adding Drag Race Mexico, Drag Race France, Drag Race Philippines. I think that's all of them. Like, pretty sure. Canada as well. That they're on they're about to be on their third season. So yeah, that's a lot of drag queens. A lot more than I think people recognize. Canada is interesting because it's a very Canadian. It's super nice. They're so nice. They even when they had the reunion, the queens didn't roast each other. Like, they can't really have untucks because nobody tries to come for anybody. They're all so nice to each other. But it's different in the Spain, they'll nitpick at each other and they'll have their little back and forth while they're still helping each other. But when you go over to Canada, they're all just super nice and they love each other and they're lifting. You're like, what is happening? Is this day-to-day life in Canada? Like, tell me more. So, but it was interesting. The last season of Drag Race Canada, oh Lord, like they came. This one queen did a two-headed fortune teller look, and when she took a drag off the cigarette in one head, the smoke came out the other. Like, she did not come to play. Another one was just destroying the design challenges. The eventual winner, Isis Couture, insane. Just her fashion ability. And then they did a drag prom. They helped some LGBTQ plus youth experience the looks they would have had and get to go to their prom as they would like to present. And she just helped this trans girl who had been bullied at school look amazing, and they didn't match. And she was like, okay, I know there's no family resemblance, but I don't care. All I care is that she's living her fantasy and that she gets what she wants. And that was just wonderful to see because she'd gone through so many traumatic things, and it was amazing. And then the other one, she had a costume. What happened is she wanted to experience a fluid look that wasn't male or female. It was genderless, and it was this really great like crushed velvet suit, but then it had lots of lace and frills, and then she had a mustache, but then she had it was just wonderful. It was well put together. Her drag transformation was beautiful. It was just great, and to see stuff like that when they do the makeovers, I love when they're doing it for people who it's changing their lives, it's helping them realize something about themselves, and that was one of the most deserved ones I've ever seen. It was great. So as it's expanding, I do have that WOW Plus, so we'll get international. We'll see if they fix Italy. We'll see if they fix the UK. Let's cross our fingers. We don't want any more disingenuous workroom conversations in the UK. Italy There was some blow ups. It looked like they were trying to give someone a villain edit, and it backfired, is what it really seems like happened in Italy. And the poor queen got kicked off the show. She's doing fine. She's still fierce as ever. She does this fabulous gray hair drag that I love. We don't see a lot of gray hair drag because usually it's making fun of older women. And so to see someone elevate older women and give them the respect they deserve is amazing. Living for it. Dragula. Don't do much Dragula. I may have to start. Got to experience the amazingness that is Sigourney Beaver, AFAB horror queen. I grew up on Elvira and Vampira, so I was about this. Also, Jay Jolie, who was on Drag Race, stopped by Dragula. For those of you who don't know, Dragula is a horror-based drag competition. They have to actually do, when they get in the bottom, they do horror challenges. It's not drag, it's not makeup. Like, they get locked. It's like X Factor. It turns into X Factor. Like, they get locked in boxes and coffins and shit. Like, yeah. Like it goes from Drag Race dark to like X Factor real quick. Like all of a sudden they're like, you know, they're just sitting there locked in their box. You know, they're sitting there and they're like, these two are in the bottom, and they have to, who makes it out of the graveyard? Who makes it back from the dead? Like, so, but the level of drag, the makeup, the artistry is insane. Like, this is like special effects level makeup in a lot of these challenges that they do, because it is horror drag. It isn't just straight like pretty glamour drag, and a lot of it is pretty fabulous. It's pretty great. So yeah, we may have to watch a couple episodes here or there, Dragula, but overall, that's what it has expanded to. We'll try and be fair and do an episode from the various seasons, not spend too much time unless it just gets too good. And if you don't know, on the current season of Drag Race, for Drag Race US, the first ever straight man is competing, and everybody is super confused, and I don't know why. Like even the queens, like the queens who got to meet him so far are like, Matt is cool. Like, it takes a lot of courage for you to go do drag and be from Arkansas. That was another thing that floored me. When I found out Maddie was from Arkansas, I was like, how are you alive? Like, how are you still doing drag in Arkansas? Like, yes, that takes a lot of courage. So, yeah, like, and like, yeah, everybody's kind of, like, I see a lot of people talking about it and they don't understand it. But that's because drag has nothing to do with sexuality. That's why you see women who do female drag, and they also do drag king drag. There's people who do genderless drag. Like I said, the people who do creature drag, the horror drag, they don't really give a gender to their drag. There was someone like that on UK, the last season, Charity Case, best name ever. And her drag really didn't have a gender. She didn't shave her legs. She didn't tuck. She wasn't trying to create the illusion of a beautiful woman. She was doing special effects drag with no gender to it. So, like, she would do a thorny rose and it looked like the rose was going to eat you type of situation. So, given that, anybody can do drag. Who is to say, you know, what your sexuality is and whether you're part of the LGBTQ plus community has nothing to do with how you are as a drag performer. Case in point, Dana Carvey, he made a great church lady, and yes, that's drag. Same as lunch lady, that's the highest of camp drag, but it's still drag. Some Like It Hot, that's drag. Bosom Buddies, Tom Hanks, that's drag. Like, as much as people don't want to admit it, it's drag. It's just that you're getting paid a hell of a lot more to do it than these girls. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, there is no, you can't sit there and be surprised because straight men have been doing it forever. You know, like I just named several of them. So, you know, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, you know, there several straight men have done iconic characters that were women. Tyler Perry. Okay, sorry, people gonna be mad. That's drag. Medea is drag. He's been doing that character for 20 years, over 20 years. That's drag. Okay, when you stick with the same costume, wig, outfit, because it makes you millions of dollars and you do it for over 20 years, that's drag. Okay, So, you know, you can be straight and do drag. So I don't know why everyone is so shocked. Like, what I was shocked about was that Maddie played the guitar. She played the blues guitar with her tongue. Okay? Fabulous talent. Needed a new suit. That was just a bad suit. And it was a bad 90s suit. Unfortunately, like late 80s, early 90s suit. Just not a good look. Great talent, bad look. Like, it needed to be a little more polished. Great runway. Girl came out with her head in her hands. Like, literally, Maddie was holding her head. So clearly she's got some tricks up her sleeve, some special effects. But the one that blew my mind, Willow Pill, I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what was happening. I just know I liked it. And that's the 90s drag that has kind of gone away as the high polish and pageant queens have taken over drag. And so you're seeing a lot more of those super high polish with the expensive wardrobes, and that absurdist drag that happened with queens like Divine, who did stuff that was really stupid or super gross. Like, that's just kind of gone away. Like, where you're watching, you don't know what it is, but it's hilarious. So, hey, it's a good time. Like, that used to really be what drag was. You'd have these really great regimented performers that might be female impersonators, but then you have people who were just roasting people to death, and then people just doing whatever, but it made you laugh. It was a good time. And that's what a drag show would be like. You never knew what you were going to get on a stage. You really never knew what someone was going to do as their act. And so bringing back that kind of super absurd stuff is just fabulous. And what she did is she came out in this like Victorian high collared nightgown, in this Victorian big ass wig with a big bun. And she started to lip sync Enya, Sail Away. And we were like, what is happening? And then, like, she's drawing a bubble bath. And then she's drinking a glass of wine. And then she's like, screw it. I'm just throwing the wine in the bubble bath. And then she goes to eat her spaghetti. And then she's like, screw it. I'll just throw the spaghetti in the bubble bath. And then out of nowhere she goes and she's got toast in a toaster. And then she's like, screw it. And she throws the toaster in. And then she gets in. And the idea behind it, at least to me, what I got behind it is when you do self-care and you're trying to take care of yourself, you end up trying to do everything all at once. And you end up trying everything to make yourself feel better and to get into a comforted place. And sometimes you just end up throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks, or in this case, just throwing it in the bathroom and jumping in after it. And I feel like it comes from that place where you're just like, I'm going to try everything. I feel like such crap. I don't know how to get out of this. I'm just going to do it all and see what works. And so, I feel like that's what she was doing, or that's what she was going for. And, yeah, it was just, it fell a little bit short, but, it was funny. It was funny as hell. The judges loved it. I can't stop talking about it. I don't know exactly what I saw, but I thought it was funny. I got it. I kind of related to it. It was weird as hell. Her entrance look was, it was hilarious. It was like 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, epitome of like Paris Hilton, like the white tank top and the white like short cropped jogger jacket, and then the tiny mini skirt, and like the platform flip flops, and the two anklets went on both ankles, and her shirt didn't say angel, her shirt said ankle, because it was one of those airbrush ones, like she can't spell, so she got it. It was hilarious. It was perfect, because everybody else had these really great polished looks, and she comes in looking like, you know, a Paris Hilton wannabe. Like, she's still trapped in 2000. Like, it stood out. It stood out for the wrong reasons, but it stood out. Like, it was great. So, but yeah, like, we have some interesting stuff here in our season of Drag Race. We got the cornbread. Yes, we have a queen named Cornbread. And she is funny. Funny as hell. And then we have UK versus the world. And that's why I wanted to start doing some international stuff, because UK versus the world, 3 British queens, and then you have 2 American queens. Jujubee been on everything. Jujubee been on Queen of the Universe. She been on her own season of Drag Race. She been on All Stars twice. I starting to feel like they made UK versus the world just so Jujubee can win. We got Monique Hart, who rebranded to Mo Hart. Then we go over to Thailand, and for the first time ever, someone is stepping out of the judge's chair who has never competed and started as a judge to compete as a queen, Pangina Hills. And then you go to Canada, and we have, first let's go to Holland. We got Jackie Janie, or Janie Jackie. She came in second in her season. Gorgeous, gorgeous, amazing queen. She can perform the house down. Then you go over to Canada, Lemon, great performer. And then one of my personal favorites, Jimbo the Clown. Jimbo the Clown's drag is this really high camp version of that male porn fantasy aesthetic that is just super like over the top. Like the breastplate is way too big. Like it makes her look top heavy. Like if she wears heels, she wobbles. Like it's that whole caricature, but taken to a level that literally makes it clownish. And then like Jimbo does the weirdest stuff. Like Jimbo's entrance look on Jimbo season, she came in black and white Minnie Mouse drag, but with the giant dress plate. So it was like she was a bimbo Minnie Mouse. Like it was the most hilarious thing. So her style of drag is completely different than any of these other queens. I'm so interested to see what Jimbo does, because Jimbo is a high camp comedy queen, kind of a gross out queen at the same time, like always will go for the cheapest of laughs. So very much reminds me of like a modernized Divine, in the sense that always goes for like the cheapest joke. So yeah, I'm super interested to see where Jimbo lands and how Jimbo stacks up. Jimbo always does really well in acting challenges, anything that has to do with comedy. Jimbo has great timing, so I'm super interested. I know nothing about Pangina. I know Pangina as a performer. Pangina can perform the house down. Jack, just like all these other queens, can perform the house down. Jujubee can destroy pretty much anybody. Jujubee was part of the first ever double save. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tight. It's going to be super difficult. These are really amazing high caliber queens, and it's going to come down to very nitpicky, finite details. So yeah, that's why I want to start, doing some international, so people can see the way that the different seasons are handled. There is cultural differences. I find the international seasons where Rue is not involved to be the best. And the reason is because I can look up the cultural references. I don't have to listen to Rue asking about them, being late to the punch. People can just do the stuff that they need to do, and then I can catch up and figure it out as I go along and watch. And I really appreciated that in Spain, and a lot of the Dutch references I already got myself. So like Miffy with a spliffy. I think we can all get what Miffy with a spliffy is. Language barrier is not going to change that meaning. So things like that, it makes it better, because like in the Spanish Drag Race, they did an episode where the looks were dedicated to El Veneno. I just happened to know about this person. El Veneno was a very, actually the most famous transgender individual in Spain. She appeared on talk shows, and she was discovered working as a prostitute. And she ended up becoming not just the most famous, she was the most visible transgender person ever at that time, but she became famous for being a prostitute, and then she parlayed that into a music career and a television career. She had a very kind of sad ending. She ended up in jail, because they still were not kind to people who were LGBTQ plus at her time. So dedicating the episode and having the looks and having it be about her, and that was double-edged because two of the judges actually produced the miniseries on her life. But I mean, that's a cultural reference that is going to be lost on most Americans, and having judges ask for you to explain it just weighs it down, and you lose the weight of what people are doing. Same with the Italian. I'm sorry, but I think we all know Miss Sophia Loren. We don't need an explanation about the iconic culturalness of Sophia to Italy. She's iconic to all of us, but she's like everything to Italy, because she embodies the elegance and grace that they expect their women to have. And I get it. She's Sophia Loren. Come on. I've done a few refaces as her, okay? But So that goes to these cultural things. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand how important she is to the country of Italy, and as an icon. So little stuff like that makes it more enjoyable. I don't have to listen to Rue's painful catch up and cultural education, and I can just watch and soak it in as it goes. So that will be interesting. I'd love to do that. Do a little drag king stuff here and there. Absolutely looking forward to doing some Marissa Day. That will be wonderful. I will come in next week and we can do some Am I the Asshole, because apparently people are preparing for wedding season and more people than normal are being complete and total assholes about their wedding, and more mothers are being absolutely unreasonable about their sons getting married. Like the type of relationship and marriage things I'm seeing on Am I the Asshole are absolutely ridiculous and insane. Once again, lets me know common sense is not common. So I will see you definitely Monday at 5 p.m. I may hop on in the meantime or here and there. I'll post it on my schedule so you can see what I'm going to be up to. But I will be back. We'll do some Am I the Asshole? We will definitely do the Weekend Stupid again. And if we hit our goals, we will do some Drag Race reactions. And we'll get into some Drag King drag, because I know you want to see This Is Marissa Day. So I will see you guys next Monday at 5. Have a great weekend, guys, and stay safe.